Welcome to People Behind People, the podcast that shines a light on Pakistanis, making a global impact in technology, academia, and innovation. I'm your host, Shehbaz Ahmad, CEO of Devbox Technologies. Today, I'm joined by Ali Amin Saddal, a senior software engineer based in Mississauga, Canada. Ali has worked with some of the biggest names in tech, Amazon, Instacart, BlackBerry, building and scaling backend systems that power millions of users globally. But behind that impressive resume is a story that starts in Sialkot, Pakistan, full of determination, learning, and an endless passion for building great software. Ali, welcome to People Behind People. It's great to have you here.
Assalamu alaikum. Thanks a lot for inviting me.
So let's start from the beginning. You grew up in Sialkot with me. What first drew you toward computer science?
I actually starting using computer back in 97. I was, I think, in grade 7 or 8, something along those lines. And as everyone else, that was the time we were playing a lot of games. I remember that once I copied Aladdin game, Kartaya, on
Mhm.
11 floppies. That was the time.
Right.
That's how it started. And how I got into programming was, I think, how everyone else got into programming around that time. It was hacking.
Mhm.
We have to
Yeah.
get into someone else's computer.
Right.
And I used to use, there was a software called Sub7. I was a heavy user of that software. Because of that, I got into like lots of hacking websites and all those things. And the more I learned about hacking, the more I realized that I'm just using the tools. The real thing is behind that. And that's where I started to get into programming. And to be honest, I didn't know. I remember the first time I saw a JavaScript code from a browser. My literal question to myself was that how the hell people remember where to put those curly brackets? How the hell do they memorize these things? This
Right.
was the question that I asked to myself. And so at that time, I started doing a little bit of Windows MS DOS batch script. And the purpose of that batch script was moving files from one place to another because of that sub 7 limitations. So you connect to a server basically another person's computer, and for some reason you cannot copy those files, so you run those DOS commands and you upload those files somewhere. So that's how computer got into my life. I got into programming, but it was like a very firm no that I'm not gonna get into computer science from my parents, especially my mother, right?
Yeah. I can
And
understand that.
yeah, and it was ruined by my brother, my elder brother. He was into designing and everything. And my mother noticed that there's not enough career. And it was early 2001, I believe, 2001, 2002, right? And then something happened. I was a silver medalist in grade 10, and then I couldn't even score 800 marks in my grade 12 for
Right.
some egoistic reasons. Right. So I had two options at that time. One option was go to UET, and get into the lowest possible engineering, which was, I believe, civil at that time.
I have
It was civil or city planning, something along those lines, right? So I was getting admission there. The second option was I can retry my grade 12, apply there, and improve my math, right? So I got zero number in my second year math, right? So while doing that, I learned that there's a new university, not the university, new program in Punjab University for computer science. So I was like, okay, it doesn't hurt to try. I went there, gave admission tests and everything. And my mom at that time, she was like, okay, either he's going to waste 1 year of his life or let him go to computer science.
right.
And luckily, I had the funny part was that had I got into afternoon program in Punjab University,
Mhm.
my mom would not have allowed me because I wouldn't have any place to live.
Oh.
I was the last student in the morning admission, right?
Mhm.
My roll number was B2M044, right? Second last person. So I got into morning. And
Yeah.
then the second semester I was pushed down to afternoon.
So they were
So I
like,
think
no, we don't need you.
yeah, so I think everything was going in my favor, yet it was not going in my favor. And that's
Mhm.
how I got introduced to computer science. And I was one of those few people in computer science. By the way, I don't know how much detail you want here on my
Yeah.
university journey here or no. I can keep
Yeah.
going on. Let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a quick view of what you want and
Yeah. So when I got into the computer science, I was a pre-engineering student. There were lots of other now friends of mine who were strangers at that time who
Oh,
came from ICS background. They knew what flowchart is. They know what they had used Fortran language. They had used BASIC language. They knew a lot of
okay.
those things, right?
So you felt like that you need to catch up. So people were ahead of you on many things.
I didn't feel that I had to catch up. And
Uh-huh.
I have been very lucky in a sense that throughout my life, I had really good mentors and teachers
Yeah.
throughout my life, starting from my school to the college and even in university. So one of my teacher in Punjab University first semester was Sajid Ali Khan Sajid. He is an influential figure for a lot of us, right?
Yeah.
And he told us in one of his early lectures that the people, so he knew that this Punjab University is not ICS focused university. He's
Yeah.
told this in fact. So he said that you don't have to be overwhelmed with the fact that there are other friends of yours who knows a lot of these things. Let me
Oh,
teach you in a couple of days, and there will be a time the people who don't know anything about computer science, you would know a lot more than the people who already have experience in computer science. So
right.
he had very encouraging behavior, right, in the beginning.
Yeah.
By the end, he was very like he used to bring us down a lot.
Yeah.
It was just his ways to encourage. But in the beginning, he was very encouraging,
Yeah.
right?
Because by the time he knew
Yeah,
what you guys are made of.
yeah. So and then he knew what to expect from a
Yeah.
person who's asking for the hell of it or who's asking because he's really curious,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
So during those time, I knew there are people, a couple of our friends who knew flowchart, and I asked one of my friends. He was very close a friend later on. I was like, how to do the flowchart, and his answer was he came from GC, and his answer was that you guys don't even study computer science, and you are here. What the hell are you guys doing here?
Well,
And yeah, that's how it started. And such the way he taught us, the
yeah.
way he ingrained things as us was very, very well. Like you may have heard this thing, a great teacher is not a teacher who can teach. A great teacher, he's a teacher who can come to your level and teach,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I agree.
And he came to our level, and there are different type of people. There are people who came from business background, medical background, engineering background. He first came to our level. He raised us, all of us together.
Yeah. I think that is so important that you teach people what you think they are learning instead of asking them what you know. So in a sense, you just help them instead of checking whether they know what you know. So I totally understand where you're coming
And
from.
and the analogies that he used to make, those analogies are still with me, and they
Right.
made so much sense. And the whole credit goes to him that the computer programming just naturally stick with me, right? I was second highest scorer in C language in his course, right? And that brought me to the map in the Punjab University. And then follow on, we had Sir Asim, who was very empathetic teacher. We had Sir Waqar, right?
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
instruction.
Yeah, Salvakar, the legend.
The legend, कोशिश करें हो जाएगा, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I would only name these people, right, from programming, because by the time I reach like semester 4, semester 5, I realized that that's it. That's the programming. Like at the end of the day, you just have to learn tools and the core concepts and
Right.
everything you have already learned. There's nothing more than that. So
Right.
after that, my focus was not programming. It was more on other subjects. So that's how I.
When you say it's not on programming, means you were like more sort of focusing on problem solving rather than the basic stuff of a
Yeah,
language.
problem solving, understanding why things are happening this way, computer architecture in certain cases. Like we always challenged ourselves with the most difficult project in our semester, in our
Mm,
batch, right?
right.
Second semester, we actually made a full Urdu editor all by ourselves. At that time, there wasn't like you can get the fonts from this place, font from this place, and this and that. We did everything by ourselves. And the biggest accomplishment for that was our Urdu editor was running in 16 KB of memory without
Mm,
crashing,
okay.
right? And then in third semester, we challenged ourselves to build an OS. And it wasn't that we made a fork of Linux. We actually built our own OS, right? All of these things. So after
So
that,
yeah, just expanding on that, building an OS as a project, it's a big thing,
yes, so we had a deal with our teacher. We are like, we're not gonna do any of the exams or any of those things. We're just
right?
gonna do this project. And guess who was the teacher?
So,
Sarvakar.
absolutely.
Sarvakar took the challenge. They're like, okay, if you guys can't make it, then you guys are failing in this course. We're like, that's right, sir. And he assigned a TA to us. He was like that he's a very resourceful person. And we attached to him like a leech and started to have multiple sessions with him. So there's a 4 months long semester, and we are having weekly sessions with him. By the time we reached midterms, so we were building all the project on interrupts, like interrupt 32 programming. I don't remember those things
Yeah.
exactly. And by the time, and we were targeting to build a process OS very small, which will be 16-bit, right? At that time, he said that, by the way, all the things that I've told you are not valid. We are like, why? They exist in 32-bit. You guys are going to do 16-bit. What the hell? Anyways,
Yeah.
bottom line was that we were only able to build the master boot record and listing the directories within the system, right? The
Yeah.
file system. We built the file system and those kind of things, and we failed the project,
Uh,
failed the course, right? So I had to repeat that.
So, okay, that's interesting. So
Yeah.
I did something similar on the similar lines, but my scope was a bit like, I did the file system, generic pre-implemented. At that time, you remember floppies?
Yeah.
So that would run from the floppy, and it was like fat competitor, fat 32
Yeah.
competitor. So yeah, that's not really interesting, but
Yes.
I'll wait for you.
So I think I don't remember exactly, but we were two people. One of us, we implemented the FAT16 system. We had
Mhm.
our own version of FAT16, and we implemented the first fit philosophy, that one, and the other one actually built the command line. And it just so happened that one of the project we did there in data structure was an SQL engine. So part of that SQL engine was ability to parse input commands like select star and all those things. So we were able to utilize that. And at the end of the day, we were able to boot our system from floppy disk. We were able to list files, create files, and those was able to do those bare minimum things. The
Yeah,
target was at that time was that we should be able to run batch files in our OS, but we couldn't achieve that. So yeah, that has been the programming. That's how I got into that. Post fourth semester, my focus was learning other concepts. I was really good at compiler. I was trying to do data warehouse and data mining because I thought that whatever I could learn from programming, I already learned. There's a time to go beyond programming. A lot of people still chose like C# as a major for their programming language, but I was like, I can learn any programming language in like 2-3 days. That's not a big deal.
yeah, yeah, that makes sense. That based on that, so that means you had some thinking about your career, early career thinking, because we are thinking about the challenges, not just the languages. Let me ask you about your time in University of Ontario Institute of Technology. Can you tell us about something like what you learned, or especially how it helped you for your career afterwards?
What I learned, I think the only thing that I did was this waste my time.
Nothing.
Right. But yeah, I think the biggest thing was Sajid Ali Sajdi, Sarasin, Sarvakar, programming the core concepts, those things. Those was the biggest influence. And the other thing that was influenced, that Sarvakar's attitude, to be honest. However, other people take, but he had one of those attitude that do things multiple times, right? Like this is like now people talk about this philosophy. There's a very famous TED talk that
Oh,
you can learn anything if you repeat that thing 45 minutes a day.
yeah,
So within 40 days or something, you can learn anything, whether it's piano, it's swimming, whatever it may be. You can learn
yeah,
anything. And Sarvokar used to give us so many LinkedIn-based exercises, tree-based exercises, so much. We used to spend so much time in the labs, and those things are stuck with me. Uh,
yeah,
they like LinkedIn. The funny part was that we practiced so many LinkedIn and all those things that null pointer exception, which was a very common thing, it used to
yeah.
surprise me when people used to get that null pointer exception. So
Okay.
when we did Java and people got null pointer exception, I was like, how can you guys get NPE in this, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember this or not, but you were doing a project in which I told you that the way you are allocating arrays
Mm,
is gonna cause you a problem.
okay.
And you're like, no, it's working fine. I was like, no, it's gonna happen someday. It's gonna happen, and then it
Okay.
happened, right? Uh,
And then you were like, I told you.
I was right. That's right. So yeah, Sir Vakar gave us so much practice, and those things are still with me, like implementing linked list, making basic concept, and all those things. And other
Yeah,
than that,
let's talk about Sarvakar a little. I
yeah,
mean, I'm so I have so much admiration for him, and just there are so many students, and his aptitude, the way he pushes you to make you learn, and he's the kind of teacher that can motivate thousands of people and has motivated a lot of people, which is a very rare skill. And you always feel like you are somebody who you can trust and you're trusting and you're learning. So sometime I felt, I mean, not in the start when I was a junior, but later on it felt more like a friend, like a strict friend. So it was really helpful and I really admire him.
I 100% agree with this one. His way of motivation is very different than normal people. Normal people, yeah, you're a good person, you can do it, you can do it. Sir God is very like a um he will taunt you, yet he will tell you that okay, you know what, this is doable. He will question your actions, yet he will push you towards that thing. So that's why our attitude changed a lot. So I did two courses with him. One was a data structure, and the other one system programming.
Mm,
So in the system programming, we did the network sniffing project, right? During system programming, we were not that scared of Sarokar. We were had a very different relationship, but during data structure, we were very scared. And
yeah,
that's exactly why it was, because we learned during that time that okay, Sarvakar is like kind of person you actually need in that time of period. But
yeah,
given that we are talking about teacher, there one thing that I want to say that there are two other teachers that I admire from Punjab University. So Sajid Ali Khan Sajid, I already talked about him.
yeah, yeah,
He has influenced a lot of people, right? His the way
yeah.
he
Unfortunately, I didn't got a chance
yeah.
to had.
His way of teaching, way of explaining things were he was the person that he would stand with you for hours, 4 or 5
Mm,
hours straight, just with students talking about things. And
sure.
he would have understanding of those things, right? He will motivate you, he will tell you
Mm,
things, and yet he was very witty. He had he would keep things very light. And the other teacher was Sir Asim. He taught
mm.
us C++. I think he's in lumps now. He was one of the very, he was knowledgeable, but he was very empathetic. So all these teachers had a very different spectrum of their personality, and they all played very well, at least for me.
I'm so glad we got these teachers who has such a positive influence in our lives that even after 2 decades, we still remember and actually use a lot of things. I mean, one thing about Sarvakar was, I guess, it was like he's not going to say anything and still make you think. It was like, "Sir, I have done this," and he will be like, okay. And the expression on his face will be forcing you to think again,
Yeah,
right? And you will be like, did I say the right solution, the right approach? Let me think
yeah.
about it again. And it's such a characteristic of Sarvakar, which is so unique to him. So yeah, that sounds really interesting. So after university, you have worked in local companies in Pakistan. Tell me something that when you moved to Canada or you moved to Amazon, so that's a big leap. What were the key moments that helped you bridge the gap?
The key moments were moving to Canada, I would say. Uh,
Yeah.
um, so it's not that I wasn't trying for these big companies before. So was has been one of the company which has been very dear to a lot of people who grew up in Pakistan because of the windows and everything, right? Because of the
Oh,
ecosystem. And I got interviewed at Microsoft back in 2007 or 2008, right?
so
So right now the meta is out when it comes to interviews, right? You know how to prepare those interviews, you know what to prepare, and you know how to do those questions, right? At
right.
that time, meta wasn't out, right? So 2007, 2008, I don't remember exactly. When I went from Microsoft, I did the interviews. I was able to solve the problem, but I know what was the issue in those problems, so I couldn't get it. Then, so it was always in my mind that I have to get out of Pakistan, right? Canada was one of the option. It wasn't the
Right.
only option. My target was US, but the more I struggled, the more I researched about it is that it has H-1B visa, the finances and all those things. It was getting
Mm.
very difficult. Then I was like, okay, Canada felt that it's more welcoming to Muslims and all of these things, so I should go there. I started applying for Canada starting with 2007 and kept getting rejections. back to back. I was like too high on my horses that I have good GPA, I have this and
Mm,
that, but it wasn't happening. And then eventually it happened. I reached Canada. I did my master's here,
mm,
and at that time, I wasn't even sure about Amazon, to be honest. I was just looking at some of the emails. My first time I interviewed at Amazon in 2011, but I got hired at a company called Research in Motion, which was later
yeah,
known as BlackBerry, right?
yeah, yeah. I think they were called research in motion. The hardware part or the hardware side of things were called BlackBerry. The
No, no, no.
software, no?
No,
Okay,
it was Research in Motion in general, and that's where I got hired. I stayed there for 5 years, and the biggest culture shift that I saw that in Pakistan, and it could be because the kind of companies I worked there was the product-based companies and the project-based company, right?
right.
And
Yeah,
when you work at a product-based company, your mindset naturally gravitate towards the sense of ownership, right?
right. And sorry, when you say project based, you mean consultancies.
Consultancy, right? So Pakistan, most companies have been outsourced in nature. Like they grab products for projects from outside and they get
Mm,
those things done 2 months, 3 months long project, and then there you go, right? In product-based company, you implement a feature and then you are kind of subject matter expert on that feature. Whether
right,
you have implemented in 1 month or 1 year, for the rest of the life, you're the project expert for that. And that was the biggest mindset, which was the sense of ownership adopting to those things. And then the processes. To give you an example, in BlackBerry, one of the projects that I did was just changing a database field from 10 characters to
uh,
11 characters. That was the
okay,
change, right? If it was back home, we would write a script that a
yeah,
DB migration, do
yeah,
the DB
absolutely,
migration, get over with it with like 1 day, one week max. It took me 8 months to execute this project.
right,
8 months, right? There are
okay,
some processes there, which could be some of the bottlenecks because BlackBerry used to follow waterfall model. But then the fact that you have to understand how many downstream systems you're impacting,
right,
debug all those downstream systems to understand that what would happen if they receive 11 byte data versus 10 byte data. What will happen on that?
mm,
Get all of those teams online, like agree on this plan, right? And then get things done. So the scope of the things, just for a small change, it changed everything. Like that's how the mindset that I was like, okay, I just don't have to look at the app which is running on my laptop. I have to think about the app which is running across the globe.
right, right. Yeah, that sounds really interesting. And I guess one of the thing a lot of us struggles in the start is engineering at scale. Our codes are good enough to work with like thousands of records and stuff. When it goes to like millions, it's just not good. I mean, some queries, some code, a loop. So yeah, engineering at scale is a altogether different challenge. Okay, let's talk about more about this engineering at scale inside Amazon and Instacart. So tell me that you have built systems that operate at serious scale from Amazon to Instacart. Can you share some of the toughest engineering challenges you faced working at that level?
I would counter you here. What do you mean by engineering here, right?
I mean, engineering challenge, designing a solution, implementing a solution, releasing it. All
Yeah.
for me, all those challenges are engineering challenges.
So the reason I'm asking this question that our education, and when I say our education, I specifically mean the education that we get in South Asia, right? We are very focused on implementing something. We have assignment, do this thing, do run this programming loop, or at most make a web page or this and that, right? When it comes to large scale, this functional requirement is just like a small piece of puzzle. It's a very small piece of puzzle. So let me take a step back. So when you are running a project, when you are assigned a project, one of the things that you have to do is write a design document that how you're trying to approach. And in that design document, very small piece of the project puzzle is that what are the functional requirement? A user should be able to log in. That's the functional requirement, right? And then comes a part which is a non-functional requirement. The login response should be within sub 100 millisecond. It should be able to recover if this happens. It should be able to do this happen, this and that. And then the second piece, which is one of the so in the Scrum, you would be aware of a definition of done, right?
Mm,
Definition of done is okay. This story should be able to do this, 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 this. and then at the end you say if the test cases are passing, this is done.
Yeah.
Here, one of the things that I learned, the definition of done is not the feature implementation. Feature implementation is just a very small piece, right? The definition of done, that you have implemented a feature, you have rolled it out, you have full control over the blast radius, right? If something goes wrong, and you have full visibility on what is happening at what time around that feature,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
And when you do this system design, the reason I was talking about it, that there are a lot of time that the functional implementation would be very simple. That, okay, if I can make just this change, it will just work. But you will lose a lot of visibility of that, right? So you end up designing systems which brings visibility. That's core concept when you design the scale. You
Right.
should be proactive in knowing your system is broken before someone else tells you that it's broken, right?
Like the yeah. So like the
Yeah, right. So chaos monkey, yeah, that's testing strategy that comes into play.
yeah.
But when you're designing the system, you should be able to think about all the worst case possible scenarios, design
Mm,
system around those type, and think
yeah.
about, okay, what's the worst case scenario? Something is not working. Okay, can you, how many customers are impacted? Okay, X customers are impacted. Can you stop radius? Can you go back to previous version? Can you
Yeah.
disable this thing, right? These comes along feature flags, this comes along lots of other mechanisms. I'm not going to go into technical details here, right?
Yeah.
But that's the one piece, right? Then the second piece is understanding how system is doing, right? So remember I mentioned the sense of ownership.
Yeah.
So the sense of ownership comes in a way that you woke up, you open your laptop, the first thing that you do is check the feature that you have released, how it's doing. You should have a dashboard. The dashboard should be explaining every single thing to you. That the latency is around this way, the
Mm,
DB queries are working this way, the API calls are happening this way, there have been so many error rates, so it's this, there's that, there's this and that.
yeah.
Your dashboard should tell that your feature is working or not. That's the
Right.
ownership, right? So one of the things that comes when you work on these kind of systems is ability to own something from the beginning, where someone says that, okay, a user should be able to log into a system, to the end where you are able to monitor without someone nagging you that what's going on, right? So that's how
Right.
the big scale and the mindset, these things come around.
Right. Sounds quite tense, to be honest. And
Yep.
yeah, I think you're quite right. In the end, you have to take ownership of anything you are doing as a employer, as an employer, as an owner. So yeah, as a software developer, you tend to. I mean, the thing is, if you are doing something, you have to think how if it goes wrong, what's my backup? How my system is gonna handle that thing.
But that's the mindset, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah,
and
absolutely,
that's what I was
absolutely.
trying to explain, the difference between a project-based company and the product-based company. Because when you're working on a project, your mindset will be have to implement this functionality in X number of days,
Yeah,
right? When you're working with a product, especially at the scale and these kind of company, your mindset is that, okay, I need to implement this feature, but
mhm,
I have to make sure it's visible with all the telemetry and all the dashboards and everything, where anyone can go and tell that how this feature is doing.
right. Yeah, I think one approach I normally take is that I think everybody else who's gonna use that system, even like my class, who else is gonna use other developer or other product, they are my clients, and I need to make sure that my client is happy and they have the flexibility, and yeah, that
Yeah,
sounds
but
really
yeah,
good.
but the in this case, your clients are the people who are using the functional side of your system, right? But I'm saying that consider your clients your fellow engineers.
Mm,
What if that you had a great party last night and you're sleeping next day, you are not up, and can someone else has a visibility on if the system is broken or not, right? Do they have visibility that, okay, I can go there and fix this thing, or I can go there, disable this feature and all those things, right?
yeah.
So you have to think about two clients at the same time. One is the functional side and one is the not functional side.
Right. So doesn't that mean, Ali, that we should be writing simple code and not very, complex code that is very smart, doing something extraordinary in one line, rather than writing simple lines for 3 lines that does the same job, but it's easier for other people to understand.
Yeah. Writing simple code is the key. I forgot the name of the book. I should have recommended Writing Clean Code, I believe, or Clean Architecture. It's a must-read book, right? One of the guiding principle is that your function should do one thing, single
Yeah,
responsibility, right?
yeah,
If your function name is like check if API responds, then do this, then this is a bad code, right?
mm,
Your code should be very self-explanatory. I'm not saying that code should be the documentation. That's also a myth. It doesn't have like what I want to say here that there are theoretical principles which are
yeah,
taught in academics and then the real life, right? And
right,
when you're doing something under fire, that something needs to be put down and you have to write the code, you end up doing the code that is needed and right there and then, right? But
right,
at the end of the day, writing simple code, each functionality should be divided in a way where it's doing only one thing and it is tested.
yeah,
Dependency injection is like a must, right? If it's not testable, it's also bad small,
yeah,
right?
right,
That's the must thing for a
yeah, yeah. So in those high pressure environments, what's your approach to problem solving and debugging? Do you have a personal method or philosophy you follow?
Now, the first thing is collect the data, understand what's going on, collect your logs, try if you can reproduce it locally or not, or at least get the sense that what's happening, right? However, you get the sense. Then the second thing which I personally do is take a step back, right? There's a very common saying that explain it to a rubber duck. If you don't have a rubber duck, you write everything that you know in a document. Okay, this is happening, customer is unable to do this thing, I check this log, this and this is happening. Okay, take a step back and try to understand that where the pieces which are connected, right?
Yeah,
Then use those pieces and try to get the information, and then at the end look into the code, see if it makes sense or not. And one thing that you should absolutely do is
mm,
communicate,
right,
right? Communicate, however the communication method is within the company, wherever you are working, communicate what you have to, right? Divide and conquer. I'm looking into this
yeah,
space. Can you look into this space? Can you look into as the seniority comes in? Um, Seniority doesn't come that, okay, you're gonna solve this problem. Seniority will come in that you are able to delegate things in chaos. You are able to delegate things that, okay, you are able to like divide and conquer, right? I'm holding on to this piece. Can someone check there is a caching which is being updated? Can someone check if the DB is being working? Can someone check all of these things, right?
right.
And at the end of the day, try to stay calm, take coffee or tea and see how it works out.
Yeah, I think communication is a very important and big part of software development,
Yeah.
especially with in big teams where people are working across different time zones, different teams. If you are not able to communicate, and by communicating, it doesn't mean you are using very complex language. Communication means like you can tell people what you need or you can tell what they're asking you in very simple terms and
So
focus on communication a lot.
okay, this discussion may derail into something else, but one of the very important thing about stand-up, like even though I hate stand-ups, like on daily
Mhm.
basis, as an engineer, like I just hate telling someone what I'm up to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But one of the thing is that stand-up should tell you two things, very simple. What are you doing, and are you blocked or not?
yeah,
As
absolutely.
simple as that, right? If you end up explaining 10 other things that I'm trying to implement my login page where the text box is not filling this way, this and that, and all those things, you're doing it wrong, right? It should be
Yeah,
sweet and simple, and the
yeah,
blocking part should be there. Okay, I am blocked by this thing, and that's one piece that you will learn as you gain experience is time boxing yourself,
yeah,
right? When to need help, when to ask for help. That's very important feature, right? you
absolutely.
should you should know, okay, you're working into a new system, and okay, I can try to look into the code, I can try to do these things. Put a time limit on yourself, right? If you know that you cannot get past that point in that certain point, reach out, right? And that should be the
Absolutely.
standard. That should be the standard. Okay, I am blocked on this thing, right? And I'm trying to work on these ways to fix myself. If I can't, I would need help.
Right,
This brings the visibility to the senior person that, okay, this person may need my help. Or if you have some time, you proactively just reach out to them. Okay, have you tried these things, right? This gives the visibility to the project manager that, okay, this project is going on this path. These are things, this is yellow, this is green, right? And this also tell that how much effort you are putting to your manager to unblock yourself.
right. Yeah, yeah. And I believe exactly the same that make the stand up is all about two things is simply I'm on time, everything is going fine, I will deliver on time, or I'm blocked. That's it. That's the all the status you need in a stand-up. So
Yeah.
you pretty nicely summarized that. Okay, so you have been in industry for over like 20 years now and still going strong. How do you keep learning and staying relevant with the tech evolving so fast, like this AI and all that shebang that comes with it?
I'm not in industry for 20 years. I would say I'm like 16-ish years. There have been some time which has been in doing masters and all those kind of things. But yeah, I'll take your word for it. Uh, how I stay relevant. So that's a tough to answer in a sense that I don't have a method.
Mm,
I have a very bad habit of knowing everything. Uh, and bad in a sense that I don't go into deep. I just know, okay, this is
mm,
something that can solve a problem, right? How it will solve, I won't get into that, right? And when I'm trying to solve a problem, those options just keep happening to me. Okay, I may be able to use this thing. And then I dig into that, right?
right,
That's how, so in a very technical term, I keep my knowledge in the breadth first approach, not the depth first approach, right? And how I do keep it first, I used to read a lot of blogs. I was a very active user on Stack Overflow where I used to communicate, like I used to answer questions there. I was a very active user on a lot of discussion forums, Java forums, Delphi forums, and all those languages. And even if I don't have anything to ask, I used to read questions people have asked there, right? For the hell of it, right? And nowadays, my YouTube channels, sometimes like there's so many channels which are doing the same thing. So I'll
mm,
just watch one channel, skim over it. Okay, it has done this and this, and then so on and so forth, right?
right.
That helps me at least keeps visibility on what's happening, what are the tools out there, and what I can do.
Right. But let me pick on this one. So you said breadth first, you focus on instead of the depth first. So doesn't that mean you are expert at nothing?
Yes, I'm a jack of all trades, masters of none, right?
Right. Right.
Or you could put it differently that I'm a journalist. I'm a journalist engineer, right?
Mm,
I am a full stack in a sense that I can take care of your infra, I can take care of DevOps, I can take care of whatever the
mm,
solution that you want to build, right?
right.
And I'll go into the depth when I need to.
All right. So you are really a full stack developer in that sense. That's what you want to, right?
Yeah. My focus has been backend, but yeah,
Mm,
I can do that. But to give you an example around that, I've seen a lot of people, their title would be Java engineer, senior Java
mm,
engineer, senior this. And even though Java has been the most used language in my career, I have never used that as my title. I have worked on languages like professionally. I have worked on Delphi, I have worked on Ruby on Rails, I have worked on Go, I have worked on Rust and all those things. And every time my company threw a project at me, I never questioned them that I can do that tech stack. My questions were always about the solving the problem, right?
yeah. So yeah, but I think as a computer science student or engineer, you should be able to learn any language pretty easily. You have the skills and the tools.
I
So yeah.
agree, but the problem is, I don't know if we are going to talk about this thing or not, but the problem is the way things are being taught in our
Mm,
universities are not focused on these things. They are focused on very programming language specific things, right?
yeah,
They are
I
being
agree.
focused on very tech stacks. And whenever a new tech stack comes in, people who are not part of that tech stack, they always feel overwhelmed. Oh my God, what's going to happen to them? Right? There was a mean tech stack that came in, then there was Ruby on Rails tech stack came in, there's
Mm,
a Spring tech stack came, God knows how many tech stack have been there. And even at that time, I used to ask them that how many tech stack you're gonna follow. Like in technology, tech stack changes faster than a season in a
mm,
year,
yeah,
right? You can't keep up with these things. As long as you know that you have to use a for loop in solving this problem. Now it's just matter of fact to understand how that for loop is being implemented within that tech stack.
yeah, absolutely. I see that. In the end, the constructs of programming are kind of saying there is gonna be a loop, there is gonna be a variable, function, class. So you
Yeah,
can, and with it's so much easy to
yeah.
convert from one language to another. So let's take it from here and ask you about your take on mentorship and someone who has learned from others and now helps younger engineers.
Oh, I love it. I think you know the
Of
reason
course.
you know why I love mentorship. Like my parents, my mom was she was a teacher, and this is so ingrained in my life.
Right.
And I have been so lucky that throughout my career, throughout my life, I had great teachers, be it at school level, be it at college level, be it at university level, and even in professional life. Some of my closest friends that I made in professional life, they were actually my seniors, right? And they ended up
Mm.
being mentors. And I feel that teaching someone is most noble cause that someone can do, mentoring someone, because you're not just teaching someone to do one thing, you're actually teaching them a way of life to improve
Yeah.
themselves and further things in that. And I love it. And when I came here in Canada, I volunteered to teach few students in my university
Mhm.
programming because they couldn't understand what the for loop is. I volunteered. I was doing TA. I was TA for one course. I was RA for two courses. I was doing a job at a gas station for 16
Mm.
hours.
Right.
After all of this, I was still spending 1 hour with them so that I could teach them programming.
That's right.
Right.
Okay.
And beyond that, I have mentored a lot of people in real life, and I think it's one of the noble things that one can do.
Yeah. Yeah. I absolutely adore teacher assistants and teachers and volunteers. It's a very tough job, to be honest.
Yeah.
I feel like to influence somebody to tell them or, to change their thinking or approach is a big, big thing.
But there's a thing, teaching doesn't come naturally to anyone. Because sometimes teachers are there who are just giving their knowledge. That's how you can do things. And there are some people who try to understand what the problem next person is stuck on and try to undo that problem. And that's
Yeah.
what the great teachers are, right? And I think not everyone has that skill.
Right. Right. Okay. So if a young Pakistani engineer come to you today asking how to make it globally, what would be your, let's say, top three pieces of advice?
Globally, in what sense?
I mean, the big tech, like companies working in large systems, Microsoft, Google, Instacart, there are tons of those.
Easiest is get out of Pakistan.
I
That's the easy.
wouldn't say that.
Yeah, that's the easiest. But the thing is that Pakistan has don't want to get into a lot of political things, but Pakistan has placed itself in a very difficult situation for last couple of years. I remember back in 2017, 2018, I actually worked with Amazon Recruiter to hire people from Pakistan. I actually collected around 500 resumes, sent to them, and none of them were able to go past first round.
Okay, so what's your advice for engineers to like be good so they can pass these?
So that's also a different question than what you asked before, right? Passing an interview is very different than being a good engineer at these companies. These are way too different, and the interview process is broken. Is
Yeah,
broken so bad. People who are good at following certain rules, they can break that pattern. They can get into any company like that. When they get into those companies, surviving there is the biggest problem, right? And the meta is out, like doing these interview questions. There's a lead code out there. You can do that. There is a very famous blind 150 series of questions, right?
oh,
Do those questions. And then there's a system design, right? Understand the scale of the system. And again, a lot of people take system design that they're going to plug in this component here and here and here, and it will work out. That's not the system design per se. The system design is basically what's your thought process on choosing, on first of all, breaking down the problem from a vague statement to understanding what the actual functional requirements are, right? And then talking it out that what could be the possible solutions that could happen. And talking about the possible solutions is absolutely must, because if you're choosing one system over another and you did not tell that why did you choose this over other, you're basically not telling that what skill set you have, right?
right,
Talking about the alternate system, the alternate approach, the alternate things is important, and telling why that approach is bad. Sometimes your approach will just be there just because the approach one brings more visibility, right? And
right,
this is okay. So system design is not about like, okay, I can put a cache here, I can put a DB here, I can do this there. This is not about that. System design is actually understanding a vague problem, breaking it down into functionality, asking the right questions, and
mm,
then taking it from there. So
right,
neat code, blind 150 list of questions, and then understanding system design, doing that. There are very good resources out there. Hello Interview is one of the resource. There is a lot of good YouTube videos. Some YouTube videos are not good, by the way, but some videos are very good. Byte Byte Go is a
Yeah.
very good channel to
Right.
understand some concept, but they give very high level overview, right? And then just wait for an opportunity where they are willing to hire for people from Pakistan or move over to Pakistan, go to Middle East or even Western countries. That would be another option.
Right. So, okay. So let's just say you had a chance to guide universities in Pakistan. Let's just assume it. What changes would you suggest to prepare students for better or challenging opportunities?
I will remove any of those things which attaches students to a certain tech stack,
Right.
right? I will remove Python language out of it, especially in first 1, 2 semesters. You should do your algo, you should do your data structure, all of these things in C, right? You can take C, you could take Go, any of these two, right? And I won't focus on a specific technology. I'll focus more on concepts, right? I think
Right.
that should be computer science be about. Like the other variants, I think IT, engineering, and all those things, they can be all about whatever they want to be, right? But computer science should be core about computer science, the core concept, right? Let
Right.
people experiment with their whatever the technology they want to use in the projects. The aptitude of those students should be good enough that they should be able to pick those things, right? And that
Right.
could easily be weed out in first 1, 2 semester when you're picking up C language, when you're teaching a algorithm, when you're teaching a data structure and all that. Those students can easily weed out, right? So that's the
Right.
one very important thing. The second thing, and this is one
Right.
thing that I have been saying within my circle, that learning a programming language is not be considered as majors in
Mm.
your studies. It's just a tool set, right?
Right.
Pick up something else that is more important, right? And that is becoming more evident in AI, right? Because whatever
Absolutely.
the programming language that you have, AI can do that thing. What is bringing you in? Why people would need you? So that I used to say this thing that programming language, and this is what I used to say back in 2011, 2012, that programming languages is going to be just one of the tools, just Microsoft Excel. It's going to be one of these kind of tools, right? So
Yeah.
the curriculum of the study should be more about a bigger concepts. Could be AI, could be one thing that I really, really like is genetics, right? Could be something else, and programming should be part of it, right? It shouldn't be that programming is focus and everything else is going to be there. That's
Okay.
that's the way I think that good students we will have a good tech skill set in the community.
Right. I would like to add communication as part of it as well. Like tell them how they can communicate, professional communication, build their confidence.
Yeah.
Then through routines, so when they come in an organization for interviews, for communication as a person or as a employee, they should be confident because they have seen that situation before or have been through it or somebody has guided them. I feel like that's really important to
Yeah, so business communication should be part of every undergrad course, I would say. Like I think we had business communication, but we use it different way. But there should
yeah,
be a like a job prep kind of
yeah,
seminars, workshops, those kind of things, which is very important. Like I think when you graduate from these, you have a very different mindset and you don't know what the reality is, right? So when you're answering those things, you're
mm,
giving those answers from that mindset.
yeah,
And then slowly, that reality sinks in. Okay, they need these kind of answers, they need these kind of things, which should be taught as part of the last 6, 7, 8 semester, however it may be.
yeah. Definitely. I guess anything you practice, as you said, you become better at it. So why
Yeah.
not practice? You know you're gonna have some interviews. You know in an organization there are gonna be meetings where you have to present stuff. And for a successful career, technical being good at engineering is important. But you would see after some time that the people who needs to be leaders, communication matters a lot.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember in our undergrad that when we did the projects, our presentation was more about the technical discussion to a
Yeah.
TA that, okay, we did this thing, we did this thing, right? I strongly think that it shouldn't be like this. You should be presenting it as a salesperson. Okay, this is my app, this is something that I built, and this
Mhm.
is how it is, right? Technical questions can just be followed later on by a tech panel, but you should be presenting it because an engineer is an engineer on the laptop. No, person who's going to hire you is not going to come to your laptop. If you cannot sell yourself, you cannot sell your resume, you won't be able to get first interview call. So doing those assignments, those projects, you should be able to sell your project. That's how it should be, right? And there was another point that I was trying to make. In writing a good technical design document, it should be part of at least big projects, right?
Right.
Thought process should be changed. That you're not just solving a one problem, you're actually thinking from a function perspective as well, from a user perspective as well, from the marketing team perspective, all those things. That should also be there.
Yeah. Given the fact that we have a lot of consultancies in our part of the world, you should understand that after some times when you become a bit senior, maybe 4 years, 5 years, or maybe a bit earlier if you're really good, you have to communicate directly with the clients, their teams. And it's really important that you are able to communicate, you are able to understand how communication happens. And if you know it before, it helps you. I mean, of course, you can learn on the job and you know from others in your teams, but it's always a plus if you know it before.
Absolutely. Like I learned it hard way, but your client, your project manager, or whoever you're reporting to, they don't care that you implemented 10 for loops to solve XYZ. All they care about that, okay, is feature working? Yes or no? That's it. That's the one line they want to know, right?
Yeah.
You should be able to differentiate how much information that needs to be communicated and to which audience,
Yeah.
right? That's very important.
And I think as technical people, we really struggle at it. We need to learn that skill. It doesn't
Yeah.
come naturally to us.
Yeah, we end up explaining a lot of technical jargon, lot of rational things. Okay, we
Yeah.
did this, we did that, we did this, we did that. No one cares about it, right? Are
Yeah.
you able to solve the problem? Yes or no? That's the answer we're looking for. Same goes for stand up. Are you stuck at something? Yes or no? That's the answer we're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with that. So, yeah, so we are coming towards the end of our podcast. So I would really like you, if you have any thoughts or you want to share. I mean, I really don't want to say advice because, even pause the video when somebody says advice for you. There is so much advice coming from TikTok and all the other LinkedIn and all the platforms. But if somebody wants to improve as an engineer, what is there which what he can use? Like I would say, for my part, go to open source projects and see how they work, maybe contribute. What's your take on that? One thing they can use to improve themselves.
Going open source will just show you that how teams work globally, how the communication happens, how the solution goes from a problem to a discussion, a brainstorming session, and then the final implementation. But if you're talking about as an engineer, there are certain things that you should absolutely have. The first is ownership. You should show your ownership from the project start till the end. That's very important skill, right? And the definition of ownership is very different when it comes to project-based companies and the product-based companies, right? And it goes based on the culture that you're part of, right? That's very important. The second thing is curiosity, right?
Right.
Curiosity, you should be able to understand if something is working. If you have time, dig into that, understand why it's working this way, right? That's very important. The third thing that I would say, learn to time box yourself, right? Learn that, okay, how much time you're willing to spend on this thing and how much time you are gonna wait till this becomes a problem.
Yeah.
Learn when to ask for the questions, right? In other words, you should say that, okay, I know how to prioritize my P0s, P1, P2,
Mm.
and PCO is given that higher priority. I should be able to get it moving in XYZ time. And that's the time boxing that we should be doing, right? These
Yeah.
three things I think very, very important. And all the things in this AI, I don't think so that programming language, solving this way, structuring the project this way, all those things, these are just like things that will move the needle. It won't take you from
Mm.
one point to another point,
Right.
right? You can write a full app in one file as well. You can write a full app into multiple projects. That's not going to make you a good engineer. What's going to make you a good engineer is your ownership, your curiosity, and you know when to ask for help. That's what's important. I don't consider, especially during this AI, all this thing, I don't consider
Yeah.
writing good code is a criteria. It's like you're asking me that it used to be true, right? It used to be
I
you're
still like
asking.
structured code. I still
Yeah,
like it to into classes with single
it's
functionalities.
like you're saying that you're doing Pakistanis exam, and given that you have good handwriting, I'm gonna give you 10 extra marks.
No, I think so. If you have a good code, not everybody's gonna be like, it's not total vibe coding that nobody's gonna try to
If your
understand it.
if your code is testable, it has dependency injection to code is testable, it's good enough. That's how I see it, right? And the only thing that, like, if I have to nitpicky about something, then I will really enforce that, keep it simple, like one responsibility thing. But in the beginning, I'll focus that code should be testable
Yeah,
without adding a lot of guardrails around it that you cannot do this, you cannot do that, right?
yeah. I mean, that's one of the principle. You don't optimize before it
Yeah,
needs it. You just first solve the problem. So yeah,
yeah.
I agree on that. So yeah, Ali, it was really pleasure listening to your journey. And thanks very much for joining us in our podcast, People Behind People, and inspiring a lot of people, I hope. And yeah, then with that, we come to the end of the episode. See you in the next episode, guys. Cheers. Bye.